What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to TRU Raider Podcast. I'm your host, TRU Raider. Now, in today's video, I want to talk about how there seems to just really be trouble in paradise. There's been a lot of speculation going on about the recent pressers by Antonio Pierce when asked about losing the number one draft pick, right? And he went out and he said, ask Tom Telesco. Now, for him to say that, it makes a lot of sense because Tom Telesco is the person who is in charge of draft picks, right? And then later on, there was another presser where Antonio Pierce was talking about that, we don't play for draft picks and things like that. But the thing that gets me about this is the way that he's saying it. I've been saying it all year that Antonio Pierce has no poker face, right? His body language, he can't hide it. His facial expressions are pretty obvious on how he's feeling. He runs high on emotion. And, it really just seems to me like there's almost some kind of something going on behind the scenes, right? Now, there's been a lot of speculation that the Raiders are looking at moving on from Antonio Pierce. Rumors have come out that Tom Telesco is trying to separate himself from Antonio Pierce behind the scenes. Mark Davis said that Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce are going to be evaluated separately. And so a lot of people are saying, hey, the Raiders are looking at bringing in Mike Vrabel, or they're looking at bringing in another head coach, and Antonio Pierce may not have a job next season. Now, when Antonio Pierce was asked about this, he said, I'm under contract. But see, being under contract doesn't really mean anything. Mark Davis has walked away from coaching contracts where he still owed a lot of money to these coaches and was still willing to move on from these contracts. So I don't think that being under contract is going to be enough to keep Antonio Pierce's job. But it's almost like, what is the real reason behind the Raiders going out and beating the Jacksonville Jaguars? Besides the fact that the Jaguars just played like crap, we definitely tried to give them that win and they just did not take it. And, I get it. The players aren't so attached to losing games. They want to win. They want the locker room, the morale to be up, things like that. But even players are smart enough to know that if you win a meaningless game, like against the Jaguars, you put yourself in position where you can't draft a quarterback. And since you can't draft a quarterback, you're putting yourself in a position to lose for years to come. Now, there's a whole lot of different things that can happen with quarterback. And I know Aiden O'Connell was out there and he was giving his all because he doesn't want them to draft another quarterback because then he gets a shot at the starting position. Now, if we draft a quarterback in the top 3, Aiden O'Connell's not going to have an opportunity to be a starter in this league. He's not going to be able to have competition for that job. They'll say it's a competition, but if you draft a quarterback that high, it's not going to be a competition. Now, if we draft a quarterback at pick number 6, pick number 10, in the second round, then all of a sudden Aiden O'Connell has the opportunity to go out there and compete for a job. Now, I'm not trying to say that this is all on Aiden O'Connell and all this stuff, but with Antonio Pierce, what is his motive for winning, right? Because, the way he said, ask Tom Telesco when it comes to a draft pick, it almost gives the hint as if Tom Telesco is Team Tank, right? Tom Telesco wants to get that top draft pick. And of course, if I were a general manager of the Las Vegas Raiders and we're sitting at pick number 1, pick number 2, I'd be saying, yeah, don't win any games. I don't want to see us win any games because I want to be able to draft as high as possible. I want to have my pick of the litter. And it could be that since Antonio Pierce, maybe he already knows he doesn't have a job next year, and so he's going out there and he's winning. He's trying to win because he doesn't care about those draft picks. He cares about how hard are the players playing. Am I going to be able to put some wins on the board to maybe secure some kind of other job somewhere else. That could be a possibility. Now, it has been said already that Mark Davis said that he wants to win out. You know, he was very upset that we lost against the Falcons, and he really wanted to win against the Jaguars. And after the win, he was in the locker room with the players, giving high fives. He was seen smiling and celebrating with our special teams unit, right? And it really, there's a couple of things that just kind of rub me weird about this situation. Why, for one, would Mark Davis want to win out? You know, he's there's been all this speculation about Shedeur Sanders. He told Shedeur Sanders himself on video that you might be home already, right? When they were at the Las Vegas Aces game there in Las Vegas. And it's really confusing to me on if he wants Shedeur Sanders, why would he want to win games at the end of the season? Now, is this something that he is just simply saying because he doesn't want it to be very obvious that he supports a tank? Is this something that maybe there's some reason why he wants to win games? Maybe he knows something we don't know. Maybe he believes Shedeur Sanders is going to be available to the Raiders no matter where they pick in the draft. Maybe there's some kind of rumblings behind the scenes and he doesn't really want Shedeur Sanders. Maybe he actually is not really even interested in that and it's just been a big, media hype. I don't really know. But it's very confusing to me. Why, as an owner, when you are telling your team there's a mandate to go get a quarterback, why would you want to win games at the end of the season just to ruin your draft stock? It really, really makes me wonder, because if it's not that Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco are just not on the same page, and Tom Telesco wants a good draft pick, and Antonio Pierce wants to screw that up because he knows he doesn't have a job. If it's not that, then why are we winning? If Mark Davis does not know exactly what's in store for quarterback, why would he want to win? Could it be that because they've said Tom Brady is going to have, a lot of say-so in who our next quarterback is going to be and finding a quarterback? Could be that Tom Telesco, Tom Brady, Mark Davis, that these guys already have some kind of deal worked out, right? And, they talk about tampering in the NFL and all this stuff. I don't believe that teams don't tamper. It's very obvious that teams tamper. It's very obvious that there's conversations that happen behind the scenes before the offseason, before the draft, before all these things go down. They've already know what's going to happen. They're not just running into this stuff blind and, we'll see what happens and then just hoping for the best. That's not the case at all. And if you look at the veteran quarterbacks that are going to be free agents and the ones who are not, that maybe their teams might move on from them, there's not a lot of great options out there for the Raiders. There really isn't. What are we looking at? Dak Prescott? The Cowboys just gave him a ton of money. And yeah, we're looking at his cap hit's going to be $47 million, which I'd say Dak Prescott's probably worth $47 million. He's coming from a season where he's been out most of the season with injury. And I don't know what kind of draft capital it would take to get him. I also don't know that the Cowboys feel confident that they're in a position to move on from him unless they have some plan in the draft. It still doesn't really make sense for them to move on because he doesn't have any guaranteed money for, he has $47 million guaranteed this next year, 2025. And then the next couple of years on his contract, there's no guaranteed money. So why wouldn't they keep him? Even if they're drafting a quarterback, why wouldn't they keep him and go ahead and have him kind of groom that rookie quarterback? That only makes sense. What are you going to do? Start Rush and Trey Lance? It's not going to happen. And then, what is it? Kirk Cousins? The Falcons benched him for Michael Penix Jr., which means Kirk Cousins is probably going to be available. Kirk Cousins is also very expensive for the caliber of quarterback that he is. You know, after that Achilles injury, he hasn't looked the same. He hasn't looked very good for the Falcons, and it could be that it's not a good fit for him. It could be that he needs a little bit more time to come back from that injury. It's really hard to say. And then, I mean, who else is there? Sam Darnold. He's doing great on the Vikings. He's looking like an all-pro quarterback over there. And he's looking like the franchise guy. And so if the Vikings win a couple of playoff games, it would be idiotic of them to move on from Sam Darnold in favor of J.J. McCarthy. But on the other side of that, you know, people are saying, oh, well, J.J. McCarthy is going to be available. I don't believe J.J. McCarthy will be available because if I were the Vikings, and okay, whoa, Sam Darnold actually had a really good year. Nobody expected this. Am I going to get rid of the quarterback that I drafted in the first round this last offseason? Just because, oh, we're going to put all our eggs in this basket and Sam Darnold's going to be the guy. No, absolutely not. I would not move on from him. I'd be looking at, okay, Sam Darnold may or may not play very well next year. And so we need to hold on to J.J. McCarthy, and J.J. McCarthy's young. Hold on to J.J. McCarthy, see how this whole Sam Darnold thing unfolds. And if you look at, you know, Jordan Love, he sat behind Aaron Rodgers for what, 4 seasons? Or was it 3? I think it was 4. Either way, he sat behind Aaron Rodgers for a very long time, and it has really paid off for the Packers. The Packers are looking really good right now. So why wouldn't the Vikings be looking at, well, J.J. McCarthy's very young. He can sit behind Sam Darnold for several seasons. And if Sam Darnold just turns out to just be that all-out franchise guy, they could move on from J.J. McCarthy in a couple years. But if they get rid of J.J. McCarthy right away and Sam Darnold flops, then what do? So J.J. McCarthy is not going to be an option, and I don't think Sam Darnold will be either. And then we got Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be 42 years old, and he's not going to be playing for the Jets. I don't really want him. Do I think Aaron Rodgers is better than Aiden O'Connell? Yes, I do. Do I think that if we got Aaron Rodgers, it would make us a Super Bowl contender? I don't think so. Look at the Jets. They look awful. And then that would be kind of funny, right? We get Devontae Adams forces his way out to go to the Jets, and then all of a sudden we end up with Aaron Rodgers as our quarterback the following season. It'd be hilarious. So that could be kind of funny, but I don't think that that's going to happen. So as far as veteran quarterbacks, and you know, maybe the rest are slipping my mind right now, but I'm not really seeing any other viable options that are really something worth pursuing, something that's worth giving up the draft stock that we've already lost, and we could lose more in order to try to sign one of these free agent quarterbacks or trade for a quarterback. It makes no sense. So now, this coming week, we're going to be going in and playing the Saints. And the Saints probably aren't going to have Derek Carr. He's got fractures on his left hand. And this last game where the Saints played against the Packers, they looked awful. Absolutely awful. They didn't even score. I think the final score was like 34-0. I mean, ridiculous. So there's a really good chance that we end up going into this game and winning. So that would put us winning 2 of our last 3 games, which we probably drop to pick number 10 if we win this game. And then the following week, we're going to be playing the Chargers, who are likely going to be resting their starters. And they're likely going to be resting their starters because whether they win or lose that last game probably isn't going to make any difference in what's going to happen with them with the playoffs. And so it's in their best interest to not get their starters injured. And so then we might go in there against their backups and win another meaningless game. This is getting a little scary, you guys, because let's face it, we have had a nightmare of a season. Absolute nightmare of a season. Luke Getsy, Gardner Minshew, all the injuries, Devontae Adams forced his way out. Like, it's just been horrid. And now we're sitting at 3-12, and we're pick number 6. And we might have gone through this whole season for nothing. At least trying to get that number 1 overall pick gave me something to root for. It gave me something to be excited about. And now it's like I'm getting let down all over again by the Raiders, you know? And the Giants are probably not going to win another game. The Jags and Titans are going to be playing, so one of them is going to win. But that moves us up to number 5. And besides that, the rest of the teams that are drafting in front of us, I don't think that any of them stand a chance at winning another game. So I think that we're probably going to be at pick number 5 if we lose out. If we lose out. And if we win out, we could be, I don't even know what's predicted right now. Pick number 10, pick number 12. And here we go all over again. A whole other season where Aiden O'Connell is probably our starter. So you guys let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know, who do you think is our best option at quarterback? Is there somebody in the draft that you're really looking at that you believe that we could get outside of the top 5? You know, because we have a lot of different drafts have predicted that these guys are going to go super high in the draft. You know, I think Pickett, Malik Willis. There's been like several quarterbacks that are really predicted to go, you know, first or second overall, and they ended up being some of them second and third round picks. You know, so you guys let me know what you believe is going to happen in the draft as far as quarterbacks, and I will definitely see you on the next one. Raider Nation, I love you guys.